welcome. My name is Sarah and today we are continuing our mod tutorials. For today's episode, I thought let's just forget about the XML injector tutorial file that we've been using for the last couple of episodes, and let's finally start to create our own interactions. So this video will only be an overview of the interactions, what the difference is between a phone and an object and a social interaction, but these interactions can be customized to create your own interaction. So what I like to use is I always like to find a file from in-game that is already very similar to the type of interaction that I'm trying to create. But like I said, today we're just doing an overview, so I've grabbed 3 of the most basics interaction, what is the phone browse website interaction, the computer browse website interaction, and then for the social interaction I chose the get to know interaction. So if you want to follow along, this file is uploaded to the mod tutorials folder in the description down below, so you can go on and download this file if you want to follow along, or you can just go and find the interactions that you want in game by extracting the tuning file. So yeah, let's go in and start with the phone interaction and then have a look what everything in this interaction over here says. So starting off, a phone interaction always has the constraints, and it's basically what it means is that if your sim goes a little bit in the water, that they can still use the phone. So now I'm going to go into tools and I'm going to open the game file cruiser. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to copy the icon numbers over here, and we can go into the DST image. We're going to have a look at what this icon is. It's a filter. It's a phone icon. So as you know, icons are not available on the phone, but the icons in the queue are available. So if you add a icon to your phone interaction, it will become the icon in the queue, and in this case it is an image of a phone. I just want to say I'm very sorry about my dogs barking in the background. I hope they're not going to be too annoying, but my old girl, she always barks at the neighbors when they're walking by, so I'm very sorry about that. Next I want to mention is that the allow autonomous or allow user direct is also something that you probably will use very often. Allow autonomous just means that your sim can do it. You do this interaction whenever they feel like it, if you have the autonomy on, and allow user direct just means that a player can go and click on this interaction. So for example, if I would change the true over here to false, it means that only a player can enable this interaction. If I would change the allow user direct to false, it will mean that this interaction can only be autonomously. So before we continue, I also want to mention that anything that I'm ignoring right now, like for example here the appropriateness tag, appropriateness underscore phone, is these things just need to be left alone. So scrolling further down, we have the literal conditions, time-based, and this means how long it will take for the sim to finish this interaction. So the max time right now is 20 minutes and the minimal time is 10 minutes. So it all depends on what you're trying to create and how long this interaction should last. So now to go over the factory, that is basically the animation that your sim is doing. So in this case we have the phone browse, what just means that your sim is going through the phone and they're browsing on their phone. Then for the balloon choices is the little balloon that will pop up above their head while they're doing the interaction. In this case it says it's a phone browse thought interaction, so she will get a thought bubble and then they will have the whatever image is added to these numbers. So also, like, if you are not sure what something means, just copy whatever the numbers say over here we're gonna go and click extract tuning, paste that, and in this case it's the phone browse thought, what is a balloon. So we're clicking on that. Now it's added into our package file, and now we can have a look and see what different icons are available. And again, you can do this to have a look here in the game file cruiser and say filter. Now we'll see that one of these images will pop up above the Sim's head in a thought bubble. And to go further down, this one is new. It came with I think the high school pension pack patch update. And this one, it basically means that when your Sim is using the phone, is that the chosen color state and the chosen phone type state is used. So for example, if your Sim uses chose the color pink for their phone, then when they are doing this interaction, the phone will also be pink. Scrolling further down, we now here have a periodic state, and it's enabled, and this one, it just goes for the lifestyle that came with Snowy Escape. It just means that while they're doing this interaction, that they will gain a little bit of one of the lifestyles. So in this case, we have the progress of low tech. Low stands for, it's like a very tiny progress. So now we're getting to the basic extras, and for that we have these loots over here. I think that these loots are almost in every single phone interaction, so I would just leave it as is. But if you want to have a better view and understanding of what they are, then definitely, like I did before, copy the numbers and have a look and extract the tuning. Now we are finally gonna get to the category and the display name. I have gone over this previously in a previous episode, so I'm just gonna go and leave this little bit out here. All I'm going to say is that the display name is the text and the category is the category of where this interaction is. Definitely check out a previous video about where I explain how to change these things. Now, if we scroll a little bit further down, we here have new display name enabled, and this is the display name that will show up if your Sim is a child in this case, because here we have the test sim info ages specified child. So if your Sim is a child, then instead of browse web, it will say browse kid friendly websites. So to scroll even further down, we also have this with if your Sim has the adventurous trait, instead of browse web, it will say browse blogs for new adventures. So this is a way of how you can create different names for the same interaction with different type of traits or different ages. Now, as I mentioned before, we saw something about the lifestyles, and here we have the interaction category text. Most of the time it will just have super and all. So as you can see, the sanitary and taggy lifestyle are also mentioned here. Definitely add those if you've mentioned those previously. And then here we have a few more things going on. So for phone interactions, it's also very important to have the test globals with the test set reference to 37832. What's a test set for an interaction can use phone, to have that added to your phone interaction. This just basically means that toddlers cannot use this interaction or use the phone in this case. So it's only available for teen, young adults, elder, and children. If, however, you want this interaction to only be used for teens, then just remove the young adult, elder, and children, and that's how this interaction will only be available for teenagers. So now to go all the way down, we have here that says key power, and this just basically means that if your Sim lives off grid or has no power at that moment, that the interaction will not work. Okay, so now we had a good overview of the phone interactions. We're gonna go to objects. In this case, I have a computer. So for a computer, or any object, it's very important that you make sure to say participant type object because this interaction is on top of a object. So again, we have the allow autonomously or allow user direct. In this case, it says appropriateness underscore computer, so make sure to have the appropriate object. And then it's also very important, especially for the computer, to have these basic content over here added. And this just basically says that the interaction will exit correctly, and also if the object is broken, your sim will exit correctly. Then for the content stage content, this just means that if they are behind the computer, that they are doing the animation. In this case, they're gonna browse with the mouse and browse with the keyboard, and the computer use React. Again, like I've mentioned before, copy these numbers, have a look at what it exactly means and if it's exactly how you want the animation to work. Now, as you can see, we also have here the periodic state changes. In this case, we have some loot actions that I would definitely just recommend leaving. They're more like pack specific. And then also when you scroll all the way down, we have more of those lifestyles periodic changes. So yeah, I would definitely just recommend leaving this whole section, same as the phone, just leave it as it is. Now going back to the category, it's exactly the same over here as that the phone says. We have the browse web, and then for children, again, it says browse kid-friendly websites, and then if your sim has the adventure trait, it will say browse blogs for new adventures. And then again, just leave everything else as it is. So here we are back into interaction category tags, and we have the interaction computer, super and all. Like I've mentioned before, super and all are always in every interaction. Then again, all the lifestyles that were mentioned previously are also in here. Now for the computer interaction, we also have a outcome, and an outcome, it's basically what happens after the interaction. Now here's something that we didn't see with the phone interaction. It's the pie menu priority. Priority just means what is the priority of this interaction, and it all just has to do with where it sits in the category when you click on it. When you open a computer and you see all the interactions, it basically just means where it sits. So definitely have a play around with that to see where you want your interaction to be. Then over here, it also says progress bar enabled. Bar enabled is currently false, but if we set this to true, you will see how much time there is left to finishing this interaction. So also, again, have a play around with it and have a look. And then again, I would just leave everything else as it is. This interaction also has the power key, what again means just that when there is no power, that the interaction doesn't work. Moving on to the social interaction. This one is a little bit longer than the phone and the computer interaction because there are a lot of different things that are going on in here. Again, I would recommend leaving most of the stuff in. But yeah, we'll go and have a look. Again, this over here, we can see the allow autonomous is false and the allow user direct is true. What again means that in this case, autonomously the sims cannot ask to get to know the sim, but you can use it as a interaction yourself as a player. Now with the current new update from Growing Together, we got categories for interactions, and as you can see here, it is added to the friendly small talk category. You can change this the way you want to change it. And then again, the display name, it says get to know. Scrolling further down, we have again the interaction category text. Just leave it as it is. What is important, we here have the lockout time enabled, and this just basically means that after you use the interaction in-game, the interaction will not be available for 360 minutes. what in this case is 6 hours. Now, as you can see here, we have a different type of outcome than what we had with the computer. With the computer, we had a outcome that said single, and that basically just means there is one outcome. And then here it says a test-based outcome. So a test-based outcome can have multiple different types of outcomes. It's always important to have a fallback outcome. So in this case, it's a social friendly, ask question friendly success basic outcome, but it's always handy to use because it just means that the outcome is successful. So scrolling further down, we have our potential outcome, and this is just one of the possible outcomes. And in this case, this outcome will happen if your sim dislikes small talk. So if you really want to know how everything works in here, again, go and have a look, because there is currently so much going on. But honestly, most of the time you can just leave it as is, and you're not working on a small talk interaction. Then just change the tuning ID of the sim preference that your interaction is added to. So, and now to scroll all the way down until we are out of the outcome situation. I also want to talk about the skill loot data over here, and then we see a lower bound and an upper bound, and then over here we have the statistics skill adult major charisma, and this just basically means that this interaction will pop up if your sim has the charisma scale between 1 and 10. So if I change the 1 to a 5, then my sim needs to have a minimal skill of 5 for this interaction to pop up. And the skill in this case is charisma, but we can change it to whatever, fitness for example. So yeah, you can change that however you want to change it. So everything else I recommend just to leave it as is, but definitely like have a good look in game. So I hope I made things a little bit more clearer to do this video of just a overview of interactions. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below, or join my Discord, and make sure to assign the mod tutorial role, and then I will help you in the private mod tutorial channel. So yeah, definitely go and check that out. If you have any video suggestions, anything that you need help with, definitely let me know in the comments down below.